Wake County's new budget has the green light. The next step, divvying up more than $702 million for schools.
What does this mean for parents? What does it mean for students in the classroom?
We're live with the decisions being made right now. Then, a federal judge strikes down parts of North Carolina's abortion pill law. The new changes for women when it comes to doctor's visits and prescriptions.
The summer feel is here. How steamy and stormy it will be before this cold front brings some sweet relief.
Right now, here at 7 o'clock, we're tracking some showers moving across our area. As we take a look at the radar this hour, we could see some storms popping up over the next couple of hours tonight. Thank you for joining us. I'm Dan Haggerty.
And I'm Ashley Rowe. You're looking live outside at Chapel Hill. These clouds really do tell quite a story, don't they? Fortunately, things are not going to be too bad in Chapel Hill. But heavy rain is coming down in some places over the course of the last few hours and certainly within the last 30 minutes. Meteorologist Kat Campbell is in the WRAL Severe Weather Center with the timeline on these storms. Kat?
The good news is, Ashley, we're starting to see the rain move out of the airport at this point. So we should see some improvements at RDU. But that shower is drifting toward Wake Forest. There was a 53-mile-an-hour wind gust recorded at the airport from that storm. The strongest storm that I'm tracking right now is just north of Oxford near the Stovall community. This is just west of Carr Lake. And we're also tracking some storms that are headed for Sanford at this point. Futurecast has been doing a good job with these storms today. By 9 o'clock, we are still likely to have a few showers and storms in the area. But the new trend on this new hourly run of Futurecast is for the rain to linger a little bit later into tonight. These storms are not going to be as intense overnight. It's still just a small isolated chance, but there could be a few. And then we'll watch later tomorrow morning for perhaps a few showers. More storms on the way tomorrow afternoon, perhaps later into the evening hours as well. I'll have a closer look at when a cold front will put an end to our storm chances this week coming up.
All right, Kat, thank you.
And I'm Brian Schrader in the WRAL Live Center. That thunderstorm set up right over RDU International, right around 6 o'clock. Everything looking okay right now on our live camera at RDU, but take a look at the scene as that thunderstorm was right over the airport. This is out of the hangars where we keep Sky 5, and you can see where that rain was really coming down. And as Kat mentioned, those gusty winds. Because of that, we're dealing with a lot of delays right now. I've measured at least 24 flights that are delayed, either departures or arrivals. And part of the problem is right now they're having some bad thunderstorms around Charlotte, and there's a ground stop in effect at Charlotte for the next 30 minutes.
Got it, Brian. Thank you. So right now, Wake County school leaders are discussing how they're going to spend a lot of money, $702 million set aside in the budget. The state's largest school district takes a lot of money to run. Tonight's board meeting is underway about 24 hours now after commissioners gave the budget the green light. WRAL's Aaron Thomas is listening to these discussions this evening. And while they're spending a lot of time talking about what they plan to spend the money on, they're also talking about some of the things that are being left off the list.
Yeah, that's correct, Dan. Here we are at the state's large school district. You have all this money on the table, yet there's still a $5 million gap. You have something like this that leaves the school leaders inside with a tough decision to make some cuts. What does this mean for parents? What does it mean for students in the classroom?
Yeah, so the big change for parents for the new traditional school year coming up will be that we will likely see an end to several pandemic programs that we had to provide additional supports for children.
Now, who you just heard from, that is Chris Haggerty. He's the chairman of the Wake County Board of Education. He tells me that substitute teachers used to fill teacher vacancies could also be phased out as well. School systems nationwide received federal funding known as ESSER funds, also known as Elementary and Secondary Emergency Relief Funds. This allowed districts like Wake County to invest in vital programs and staffing aimed at helping students who deal with learning loss brought on by the pandemic. But these ESSER funds are set up to dry up, putting Wake schools in a tough spot. Also, after speaking with Chris Haggerty, he stresses how the Board of Education wants to make increase in teacher pay a priority. We're going to be speaking a little bit more with him, as well as other families impacted by these budget matters. Aaron Thomas, WRAL News, live in Cary.
2 buildings in Zebulon were evacuated. Multiple people sent to the hospital after 2 workers mowing grass discovered a mysterious substance in a ditch. This all unfolded on Industrial Drive. The WRAL Breaking News Tracker was on the scene for hours, along with a large emergency response. Zebulon Police and Fire, as well as Raleigh Fire, Hazmat, and Water were all there. After hours of investigating, crews don't believe the substance is hazardous.
Material that originally was thought to be hazardous is likely to be cleaning chemicals that were pulled down in that drainage ditch down there. And right now, Raleigh Hazmat is going out to that site and laying down booms, which are these absorbent mats. They'll do that over the next couple of days to make sure that they can absorb some of the chemicals that are there.
The two workers who came across the substance went to the hospital out of an abundance of caution. We are still waiting to find out how they're doing. Cleanup crews will keep an eye on the site over the next 2 days.
An EV charging manufacturer just opened its North Carolina headquarters in the Triangle. Kempower's $41 million facility in Durham will boost electric vehicle infrastructure across the country. WRAL's climate change reporter Liz McLaughlin shows us how this new facility will help the environment and the economy.
3, 2, 1, celebrate.
A grand unveiling of Kempower's 150,000 square foot facility in South Durham, where the company will manufacture fast EV chargers.
This is policy supporting investment. And, Durham is going to do its part.
Kempower is the latest of a string of businesses to set up shop in North Carolina to support the growing infrastructure needs of the booming electric vehicle industry.
You see registrations are growing here. Companies are putting a lot of money into EVs, those companies that make them, and we see that market really growing in the next couple of years.
In March, North Carolina surpassed 80,000 electric vehicle registrations, hitting the state's 2025 goal early. About 7% of vehicles nationwide are electric.
Kempower expects electric fleets to be its biggest segment by 2030. Think buses, delivery trucks, but those bigger vehicles have bigger batteries and need a bigger charger. That's why they made this megawatt charger. It packs the power of 2 Walmart supercenters, and it can charge an electric truck in just 30 minutes.
Governor Roy Cooper said establishing North Carolina as a global hub for the electric vehicle industry will help the state meet its climate goals while benefiting the economy. Kempower's Durham plant is expected to bring $726 million to the state over 12 years.
Direct foreign investment in North Carolina is an economic development gold mine that we are continuing to take advantage of.
About a dozen chargers have been made at the facility so far, and Kempower's hired about 120 employees, expected to grow to 300 as production ramps up. Liz McLaughlin, WRAL News, Durham.
There have already been at least 5 police chases in the first 4 days of the month in the Triangle area, making at least 40 chases we have covered so far this year. The latest ended last night in Knightdale. State Highway Patrol believes the driver was drunk and took off after a traffic stop, reaching speeds of 100 miles an hour. The driver crashed into a utility pole, knocking out power for some 2,000 people. That driver is expected to survive. Highway Patrol chases increased by 130% from 2019 to 2022, according to their latest data. Highway Patrol declined an interview, but we spoke with the Wake County Sheriff's Office about their pursuit policies.
The deputy has discretion to initiate the pursuit or to terminate the pursuit if he feels that it gets to a point where it's too unsafe, as well as any other supervisor that's monitoring it or a secondary unit that's involved in the pursuit. As far as a threshold, a lot of that is officer's discretion.
Wake County Sheriff's deputies were involved in 74 chases last year, a number they'll likely surpass in 2024. 35 already this year.
Access to abortion pills will soon be easier in North Carolina. A federal judge struck down part of a state law that conflicted with the FDA's rules on the pill. WRAL's Monica Casey explains what this means for women statewide.
This ruling by a federal judge means mifepristone is easier to obtain, in part because a wider group of people can now prescribe the drug.
A UNC doctor won her fight in federal court. A judge agreed with some of Dr. Amy Bryant's argument that parts of North Carolina law conflict with the FDA. The ruling struck down several portions, including prohibiting any healthcare provider other than a licensed doctor from providing mifepristone, requiring the abortion pills to be provided in person, requiring an in-person follow-up visit, and requiring the reporting of adverse events related to mifepristone to the FDA. As part of this ruling, that judge says some parts of the state law do not conflict with federal and can stay. Those include requiring an in-person 72-hour advance consultation and use of an ultrasound before this drug can be prescribed. In a statement, Dr. Bryant wrote, quote, "While the ruling still leaves in place some inappropriate restrictions that are not evidence-based or medically warranted, it will allow for increased access to safe and effective medication abortion care throughout North Carolina." In Durham, Monica Casey, WRAL News.
Still ahead, a breeding facility where thousands of beagles were rescued is now facing the largest fine ever ordered in an Animal Welfare Act case. The violations the facility faces coming up. Brian?
A Harnett County teacher is the center of a criminal investigation involving sexual misconduct allegations involving a student. Coming up, why the sheriff is asking for your help. Welcome back. All new in the WRAL Live Center. We have learned from the Harnett County Sheriff there is a criminal investigation underway right now into sexual misconduct allegations between a Triton High School teacher and a student. Wayne Coates posted this to Facebook earlier this afternoon saying that investigation started on May 10th, but he says now it has come to light that some people may have information that could aid in that investigation. Of course, no names involved here or released here involving the people at the center of this investigation. He is asking anyone with information to call the Harnett County Sheriff's Office or leave a tip on their website.
Brian, thank you. We're about 5 months now from our next presidential election. In March, WRAL conducted a news poll. We asked North Carolina voters which topics mattered most to them. The poll found that 66% of Republicans want the country to take steps to stop immigration at the southern border. 30% of Democrats and 42% of independent voters agreed. Facing intense political pressure over illegal immigration, today President Biden signed an executive order that would close the border if too many people try to cross. As we take a live look at Washington, D.C. tonight. This action tightens asylum limits by temporarily shutting down the border to many asylum seekers once the number of daily illegal crossings hits 2,500. Biden says he tried to address this issue with congressional support, but says he was left with no other option.
I've come here today to do what the Republicans in Congress refuse to do. Take the necessary steps to secure our border.
This is like turning a garden hose on a fire alarm fire.
Trump says Biden's order won't stop the invasion. In 2018, the Trump administration tried to enact similar border restrictions, but courts blocked them.
Gang members in North Carolina are using a law meant to help kids to recruit them into gangs. It's the subject of a brand new WRAL documentary airing this week. WRAL investigative documentary reporter Kristen Severance explains what they uncovered.
Gangs are a virus.
I think it's helpful to identify what a gang is.
A definition of a gang is 3 or more people with the same common beliefs
working in concert, committing crimes.
We know what a gang is. We know gangs are in North Carolina.
How big of a problem are gangs in North Carolina?
I think it's a big problem. We as leaders, we've got to acknowledge that there's a problem.
Does Raleigh have a gang problem?
Oh yes, most definitely, like any other city.
Raleigh's not immune. Raleigh's not exempt from that.
Charlotte, Raleigh, Rocky Mount, Wilmington, Fayetteville, Greensboro, Winston-Salem.
But there's so much the general public doesn't know about gangs, including what gangs are here.
The South has seen an explosion over the last 20 years in Bloods, Crips, Sureños, Norteños, Latin Kings, gangster disciples, and the list goes on and on.
What crimes are these gangs committing?
Some may sell drugs, do frauds, do robberies. It's a criminal enterprise.
Tell me when you first were introduced to gangs.
Probably about 10.
I mean, when you were younger, were you in a gang?
Age 13.
13, 14, 15 years old.
But now, these kids there's an issue, they're not fighting, they're shooting.
We heard from person after person who told us a well-intentioned law change
This juvenile justice reform a few years ago go too far.
is making it easier for gang members to recruit kids.
When the state of North Carolina raised age, we raised the crime.
The challenge is that the way that law has reverberated in the streets.
Today I'm over capacity in juvenile detention because these young people are being told a lie by these gang members that they won't get in trouble.
And the truth is very different.
You can watch Easy Targets Thursday at 7:30 on WRAL or WRALdoc.com.
Just fascinating. Senator Danny Britt introduced legislation that would send 16 and 17-year-olds who commit violent offenses straight to adult court. It passed the Senate with broad bipartisan support. The House is set to vote on that legislation tomorrow, actually. We'll have updates on air and on WRAL.com.
This next story is a tough one for animal lovers, but you might remember these dogs here. So they're some of the thousands of beagles that got rescued from a breeding facility in Virginia. Many of them ending up, I mean, look at this guy. Many of them landing here in North Carolina. Now the facility that bred and sold them to labs for testing must pay more than $35 million. It's the largest fine ever ordered in an Animal Welfare Act case. The fines against Innovative come as its subsidiary, Envigo RMS pleaded guilty to conspiring to knowingly violating the Animal Welfare Act. Another pleaded guilty to a felony of conspiring to knowingly violate the Clean Water Act. The more than 70 violations include inhumane euthanasia and failure to meet minimum standards for care.
Oh, how could they do that to those sweet dogs? Cumberland County Animal Services is offering free adoptions through Saturday. Fees are waived for both cats and dogs. You can see the available animals on Cumberland County's website or by visiting a shelter. It's open from 11 to 5:30 Monday through Friday and from 1 to 5 in the evenings on Saturday. And speaking of the weekend, it's going to be a nice one. Kat, you've been mentioning there's sort of summer-like storms that have been popping through.
Yes, it's very summer-like. I mean, it's June after all, but like you said, we've got a good weekend. Maybe you can pick up one of those animals, adopt them, go for a dog walk Saturday. 83, low humidity, as good as you're going to get this time of year. In the meantime, we've got more 90s for the next couple of days. The humidity stays high through Thursday. That'll come with daily storm chances. The good news about the storms is for those of us who have seen them, we've really cooled off nicely. It's 79 in Roxborough, 78 South Hill, 80 in the Triangle with a heat index of 82. That one shower that developed right over RDU dumped just under 2 inches of rain. So these showers have a ton of moisture to work with, but we've cooled off nicely in the Triangle after that one fizzled out, and it's starting to continue to fizzle out as it moves toward Wake Forest. Our strongest storm right now is drifting toward Carr Lake, moving away from Oxford, and it's just north of I-85. Quite a bit of lightning with that storm. Right now and for the next couple of hours, we'll have storm chances sticking around, especially through about midnight. And then once we get past midnight, that chance is down to 20%. Satellite radar, here comes the cold front that's going to arrive Thursday and usher in some less humid air. In the meantime, high pressure and control offshore. We've got a warming southwest wind transporting a lot of moisture into the area as well. Futurecast for tomorrow morning, not showing much. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if we did have a stray shower tomorrow morning. Perhaps in the western part of our viewing area. It's not a widespread concern, though. Once we get past lunchtime, these hit or miss pop-up storms develop, and there is a more organized event that could happen tomorrow evening, perhaps, as we see a broken line of showers and storms try to move in. So tomorrow, I think it's worth having your umbrella with you. I do think that would be a good plan for tomorrow. Thursday, the cold front gets closer, and as it moves in, we could see some hit or miss storms develop along that front as well. So Thursday, you may want an umbrella again. Tomorrow's storm chances peak at 60%, though, compared to 50% on Thursday. After that, put away your umbrella Friday through Sunday. Looks like it's going to be a beautiful weekend. Still pretty hot, but not as humid. A nice big drop in the humidity. 83 on Saturday, falling to 58 Saturday night into Sunday. Like I said, it just doesn't get much better than that. And the fact that we have this 2 weekends in a row, pretty unheard of, so make the most of it.
Absolutely. Thanks, Kat.
A local family got quite a surprise when a snake ended up in their home. What happened next? Coming up.
June is Pride Month, and to help make sure workplaces are safe for everyone, several local organizations teamed up today for a discussion about creating more inclusive work environments.
The diversity movement and Raleigh Pride hosted today's free session. They talked about ways to support employees who are members of the LGBTQ plus community, provided inclusive benefits, and revised discriminatory policies. The diversity movement partners with organizations to connect real-world business outcomes with diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. Thousands of people will be traveling to Pinehurst next week for the 124th U.S. Open Championship.
Isn't this beautiful? The sun just peeking through the clouds over Pinehurst here. To prepare, State Highway Patrol, DOT, Pinehurst Police, and other jurisdictions will be putting together a comprehensive parking and transportation plan. They're putting up more than 400 signs, providing 130 coach buses and over 20,000 satellite parking spaces to help people get to and from the grounds. There will be 2 free fan lots. Officials want you to follow the signage to the parking area nearest you, depending on the route you take. There will also be a rideshare and passenger drop-off location off of Midland Road. The U.S. Open runs from June 10th to the 16th. It's going to be beautiful. A special train service will run from Raleigh to the U.S. Open as well. It'll go from Union Station right to the clubhouse twice a day. The train will stop at the Cary station in between. The route will be available June 13th through 16th. Add this to the list of things that, well, if you don't like snakes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the officer in Fuquay Arena, though, came to the rescue for this family. The snake slithered into their home, very much uninvited. This is Officer Gansmuller holding the snake after its capture. He looks pretty chill about the whole thing. The department posted these photos on Facebook. The officer responded to the home yesterday afternoon. The snake was apprehended without incident and relocated to a more snake-appropriate location. No people or snakes harmed in the process here. The guy, he's a pro. He knows what he's doing.
And the black snake's fine, right?
Yeah, you know, you don't want him. I wouldn't want one in, you know, slithering around the house. But,
Good night.
Thanks for being with us.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air channel 34 and Spectrum channel 1257.